Good afternoon. My name is Victor Mofokeng from the Quality and Operations Department. I'll be presenting a paper of my colleagues and myself by Mr. Mahlaha, Dr. Sukdeo, called a Lean 7S methodology to improve efficiency and organizational performance, a review on a small enterprise organization. Good afternoon. We're looking at Lean 7S methodology to improve efficiency and organizational performance, a review on a SME organization by Mr. Mahlaha, Dr. Sukdeo, and myself. Paper ID 034 9 March 2020. Now, when it comes to manufacturing and business sector, what differentiates most entities is the size. Therefore, lean becomes very important for small businesses. We'll be looking at TPS as well as the new 7S methodology. The most common one, which is the 5S methodology, has now two improvements or two additions, which are safety and support. Introduction. SMEs are normally the most driving of the economy. However, they help not really uncertain conditions when it comes to manufacturing. SMEs companies have to adapt to the world-class standards. If you look at the fulfillment centers, which are warehouses, most of them have to comply, or rather have to stay competitive by using research standard methods. Now, the 7S will be looking at how small companies can actually now be competitive and also be profitable. The problem statement. In this research, we'll be investigating the current case study with the intention to improve efficiency in the company and also have observations. By doing this, we'll need to look at all the systems and processes to achieve the optimum desired desires for the business. Research aims will look to involve the 7S methodology, subsequently make recommendations, as well as investigate lean approach techniques. This will be done by identifying factors prompting the deficiency that may be experienced. Objectives of the study. 1. Evaluate the process current efficiency through 7S audit. 2. Administer organizational photography to identify deficiencies in the process flow of the chosen packaging lines. 3. Identify opportunities, efficiencies, improvements in the process flow by assessing key performance indicators. 4. And lastly, implement 7S methodology to improve the process flow. Research gaps. The first one, the efficiency challenges may be faced in the current company. We'll diversify solutions, techniques, and the methodology to address the current flow. Secondly, the focus of lean approach initiatives to implement on small medium enterprises is connected to the idea that SMEs are vital contributors to the country's economy. The research methodology which will be used. A literature study was conducted as well as a longitudinal case study on the SME packaging industry and also nominated to implement the 7S methodology. The aim of the study was to, however, boost the efficiency of the organization. This was done by conducting a mix of research methodologies and standards. Now, this research employs a longitudinal study as emphasized, but we'll be looking closely at the 7S and how can it be operational within a small SME. Worth noting is photography research methods, which are quite recent in the new studies. Literature review. When it comes to SMEs, it is very difficult to find sponsoring and money. This is very important because, as you might know, these SMEs contribute largely to the economy of the country. Subsequently, only 70% of these companies, after they've started, experience failure. Now, it brings us to what do SMEs do? An approach which will be very helpful is to look at the stats when we tackle the implementation of 7S. The background on the lean approach and the supporting packaging, or rather warehouses, on SMEs. How does it look like? It means simply this, that SMEs have to now look at cross-functional structures. This includes a lot of utilizations as well as how have they been done before. If you know the history of lean, you'll know that it comes from Japan. This was brought shortly just after World War II, when the country was heavily stricken and they had to be very resourceful, meaning that they had to use all their resources very wisely because at the time they didn't have anything. So now SMEs have to use this same approach to actually implement within their organizations. Barriers to implementing lean in packages. The biggest challenge when it comes to implementing a lean system in a big company or small company is what they call the status quo. What does it mean? It means that if your company implements a lean system, the employees or the company might not be receptive. This is attributed by how people think of lean. What we used to have now has to change, meaning that we have to be very, very careful with our resources. So this might be a hurdle for some organizations which are very relaxed or rather which work very comfortably. If we analyze the application of 5S, 6S, and 7S, we'll discover this. Sorry. 5S is the most referred system that's being used currently, primarily because it looks at housekeeping of most organizations. So any top level company, when they implement 5S, they're very strict on the housekeeping. When it comes to 6S, we just now implement what's called safety. Now, with the new introduction of 7S, we implement the last block of the puzzle, which is support. Let's have a look at the layout of table 4. We have concept on the far left, and then appearance, and then actions required, and then expected outcomes. With 5S, the concepts were sort, set in order, shine, standardize. Those were the 5S. With the later evolution, we had safety. And then lastly, now we've got spirit and support. If you look at the evolution of 7S from 5S to 7S, what's worth noting is that every 10th decade or every 10 years, we've seen that there's been a demand from industry to actually improve their standards. Now, from the 70s up to the 20th century, we only had what was called 5S. 5S was very key in most companies. Right now, some of them are still using 5S, but they're also using 6S. Primarily, 6S helps with company to reduce incident or what we call injuries or eradicate waste. The 7S diagram now comes with a new one, which is called support. Support seeks to make sure that the company is productive in everything. In conclusion, what have we discovered or what have we learned from the short paper? What we've seen is this. With the increasingly demand of business changing, SMEs have to be very aware of what's required from them. Now, using a new 7S methodology can actually become more of a positive outcome to these small organizations for them against big organizations. What's worth noting about the 7S function is that it's broad and diverse. What that means is that it can be applicable successfully, and also you can actually now track the progress. The most important thing about the 7S with the support that becomes a base of any lean method to actually be applied. Continuous improvement tool and also a constant monitoring and evaluation tool.